Alright, this is World War II Home Front. This is the discrimination, okay? First off, NAACP is going to be around. It's under the control of a man named Walter White. He's basically running things. What are they doing at this time? They're all bought into that jobs and freedom thing of A. Philip Randolph, really trying to push, anti-discrimination laws. They feel like they've won with that Executive Order 8082. So that's about most of them. Now, in 1942, a second one of the Big Six, as they're called, is formed, and it is called CORE. CORE stands for Congress of Racial Equality. And the second man from the left here is James Farmer. He's going to be a man in charge. They're actually going to do kind of bigger protest things to try to get the idea. They feel like the court system may be corrupt, and so they're going to do protest methods. And that's a major factor, especially going into the whole idea of where they want to take this and where they want to hopefully end up. Now, another thing having to do with the whole discrimination aspect was that of the Zoot Suit riots. Now, the Mexican Americans, and I say Mexican Americans because they're born here, came up with a new fashion style. It was called the Zoot Suit. It was a high-waisted pant and a long coat, big wide hat, big wallet chain, all these things. And while the sailors were off, these pachucos, as they were sometimes called, because Pachuco is a place in Mexico, Zoot Suiters were dancing with their women. So when the sailors came home for leave, they were pretty upset that these people who were seen as anti-American because they got all this flashy dress on, etc., were dancing with their women. And there was a series of riots in which many of them, you can see two of them there, stripped to their underwear, were beaten by these sailors, etc. And so, going back to the whole idea there. Now, there had been a fear that the Japanese were disloyal, and this idea began to creep up, etc. And so again, much like in World War II, we have the question that which is more important, national security or personal freedom? And again, like in World War I, national security wins out. FDR, upon listening to people of these fears, will issue Executive Order 9066, which said that all persons of Japanese ancestry could have been born here, never been it, couldn't find Japan, are going to be ordered into internment camps. Now, here we have an internment camp. Now, internment camp is basically like a concentration camp. However, you are allowed to leave and go work, etc. But nonetheless, you wouldn't want to be forced out of your home and different things like that. This is 100% discrimination. Now, I didn't say there. But the biggest internment camp, and many of these were in the West, was the Manzanar, which is in California, and you can actually go visit it today and kind of see remnants of that. Now, what happens if you realize this is not right and you want to challenge it? One man, Fred Korematsu, refused to go to the internment camps. He will be arrested. He, in turn, will sue the United States in a massive court case called Korematsu versus the United States, on the grounds that under the First Amendment, his rights had been violated, and he had been told to go into an internment camp, which was unconstitutional. In this, much like in World War I, they ruled in favor of national security. But whereas in World War I, they said it was clear and present danger. Here, they said it is a military necessity. Okay? Basically, it was vital that these people be put into internment camps to protect the families of the military who are serving and are the military themselves. Now, the ironic part about this is the most decorated and highly celebrated unit was the 442nd Regimental Combat Team, which were all Japanese Americans. So as they're fighting, some of the people they probably know, their loved ones, were being forced into internment camps. It's kind of weird, isn't it? Now, internment reparations. Fred Korematsu really had a major role going on And in fact, President Reagan, Clinton, I think it's Reagan, in the 80s. In 1988, they will sign a bill into law giving anybody who went through these reparation things a certain amount of money. The amount of money escapes me at the point. But they will be compensated for being forced out of their home. And in fact, Fred Korematsu, shortly before he passes away, will be given the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President Clinton for standing up for human rights. And many places, in particular California, they actually have Fred Korematsu Day. It's actually a holiday, much like Dr. King has a holiday in which they get out and recognize this man who stood up basically against the whole United States and said this is wrong. But again, in times of war, national security wins out, and we see that time and time again. It's a big theme, all right?